Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 131. We're back at PCA's national headquarters. Around the table, we have Manny Albin, Damon Lowney, and back to PCA headquarters. Now, this is your first podcast, but you've been here before on Tech Tactics Live. Welcome to the table, David Whitlock, Stuttgart Market Letter, and today we have an audience.
We do.
And I'm going to let
Dad to work day.
I'm going to let David introduce our audience member here.
Yes, the famous Mr. Whitlock, from the Stuttgart Market Letter.
There you go.
Always referencing.
So the pressure
and a Porsche owner.
And a Porsche owner.
Yes.
I'm sweating. The beads are coming because I've never had the live audience here during a podcast.
He has that very judgmental face. Too,
Yes,
so.
he is. He is.
I have to say, it's almost like, a news anchor wearing a jacket up top and boxers on the
Exactly.
bottom. That's what my side of the office
That
looks
he's
like.
seeing how all of the sausage is being made here at PCA National Headquarters. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about the Monterey auctions and the current market. And probably the biggest question is the sky falling?
Well, I was the whole time, believe it or not, I was thinking of David as we were out there because I'm like, I'm definitely going to get him on the podcast because, you ask people what they think of the market and they don't really have data to back it up. They're just saying, oh, well, I heard this didn't sell, or I heard this went over reserve and such and such and such. But it's always good to have data, a little bit more wider outlook of what's going on with the market than maybe just Monterey. Because I also think of Ramsey telling us what the average price of a car being auctioned off at Broad Arrow was $700,000.
Yeah.
So it's and Mecum is a little bit different too, but. It'll be interesting to see where we are in the
And
market.
humanity tends to tell stories that supports sort of their ideal and or opinion. So they'll cite specific examples. Like if they think it's a downturn in the market, they're going to cite that one car that didn't do well or went for no sale. Or if they think the market's up, they're going to cite that one car that did ridiculous money, right?
And let's be honest, everybody, the sky is falling, gets more clicks. Than
Of course,
going well.
We know.
That's true.
We know the YouTube algorithm likes it when there's a little bit of negativity or hot topic.
Negative. Yep. I found myself, early on at the auctions, on the first night, going, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And then, things started going well.
Yeah,
it kind of just been chugging along since what we had in Amelia Island, Monterey. A lot of new highs.
Yeah,
a couple new lows, but the sky is not falling.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen you at other auctions, and I'm going to look over to Dad here because he's told us he's done this as a child, and he must have because no other normal human being can sort of tune out all the craziness that's going on at the auctions. And he's literally sitting there in the front. David's sitting at the front row with his little camcorder and little notes, and he's there the whole time watching every single car go through. That's commitment.
Dedication.
A normal person doesn't do that.
So he's not distracted by the lobster rolls going by.
That pulls me from my seat immediately.
And if you're a
They
motor
would
lux,
bring the champagne over.
Yeah,
right?
they just put out dessert. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
You missed the good stuff.
All right, so where do we want to start with this, Manny?
I guess. What's your first take on Monterey after looking at the results?
First take, like I said, it's kind of the market's just chugging along. Nothing's dropping significantly. It's not all going in the same direction. It's not the summer of 2022 where everything was to the moon, including stupid JPEG 8 pictures. Everything was going up back then. Didn't matter. Some cars are doing really, really well. The market as a whole maybe was a little bit softer, just like the whole Porsche market. Mm-hmm. We had a sell-through rate at Hammer of 68%. With 140 some odd cars crossing the block across 5 auctions. 2023, our Hammer was about 72%, but granted, a lot of cars sold after that as well.
Right.
Cars keep on selling. The guys on the floor they're hustling afterwards, trying to get the things that don't sell sold.
What was Mecum say? The sale goes on or something like that?
The bid goes on.
The bid goes on.
Yes, the bid goes on.
And they don't publish that necessarily, those numbers, right?
They do eventually.
They do. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. My data is all at the gavel.
Okay.
So, and then I'll later go on and notate, okay, this was sold after. This is what it brought.
And the gavel price for our listeners, that includes the sell price plus the 10%.
So
buyers?
when I'm looking at numbers, I usually just track what the hammer price was
Okay.
without the fees, because on a day-to-day basis, I'm looking at the hammer price on Bring a Trailer, P-Car Market, Cars and Bids, and their fees are so much less. So I just look at pure hammer.
Okay.
And then in other columns, I'll have the fees, and every fee for every auction house is completely different.
Now your sell through rate that you were talking about, the 68, was it 68?
68%.
68%. Now that's hammered calculations, because I believe the auction houses take into consideration the sales
They
after
will
the
take
hammer.
in-
So their sell through rate will probably be naturally a bit higher than yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's for Porsches, not all cars.
I'm just looking at Porsches.
Just the Porsches,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The overall market sky could have been falling. I have no idea. I'm
Okay.
just
Well,
watching.
you're
the
just
Porsches.
watching
I
the
heard
Porsche.
Ferraris didn't do quite as well this year. I think and that
Again,
was
it depends on who you talk to,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
what
guess so.
the story they're trying to tell you.
I talked to a mutual friend of ours last night, and he was watching the Lamborghini market, and he said like the newer stuff, there were records there.
Oh, okay.
Then you have some older Halpas that were like a steal, where he's sitting there, it's like, oh my god, I should have bought that. Like,
Yeah.
what was I thinking?
Yeah. I know.
Obsessed.
Yeah, exactly.
Good thing he's
I
not
was
here on
thinking
this
the same
podcast.
thing. That's hilarious that you said that. No, sorry, Mr. Sass. We weren't making fun of you too much there.
No, but he would bring home a Lamborghini.
Oh, he would. He would. Absolutely, he would. And we like all cars. And he just actually acts on it. Like
Yeah,
we
he
just
does.
think about it. He's. I got to give it to him that he actually does it.
I get too anxious even thinking about
Oh.
having more than 3 cars. So.
Yeah. So any I guess stories either sold real well or sold real low that kind of caught your attention?
I mean, a lot of cars sold really well, but one particular group did exceedingly well, and that was the cars from the White Collection. So remember
There
the
were more of those,
sales?
yeah.
There were more.
Hey, I thought
Okay.
I saw a couple of
Yeah.
these.
Yes.
So these
Yeah.
are cars that people already bought and they're reselling?
Some were not sold
Oh,
at
okay. All right.
during the White Collection.
Interesting.
Okay.
So during that
And
collection,
that was RM initially?
RM initially.
Okay, yeah.
Back in 2023, they had the sale, and one car of all the Porsches went unsold, and then others, I guess, they didn't have ready in time. I don't know.
Okay.
So we had six cars went through. 4 of the 6 were new highs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then the other 2
We were there.
two-
We didn't know about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
The
dying to hear what
And
two
this is why David's on the podcast.
We had 2 993 C4Ss, and they did extremely well. They just weren't new highs.
Okay.
But we did have a Sport Classic, so that hit 690
Which Sport Classic?
2023.
2023,
So
okay.
2023
Wow.
911 Sport Classic at 690.
690.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a lot of money. Not as much as the 2019 Speedster that did 700.
Wow.
2019
Teen
Speedster?
Yes.
Because it was white?
A new high. Well, it wasn't just that these were white. So these were cars when the gentleman, I'll call him V,
Yeah.
was able to spec them out. And
Yeah.
he wasn't just doing just white. Everything was spec'd. So you have all the special leather, different options. Like even on the Speedster, the little side shark fin, it looked like it was blue to me.
He was able to get Porsche to do things that Porsche wouldn't do for almost anybody else. So
Wow.
it's possible.
So out of the 690
Oh, yeah.
price, how much you think of that was because of the special options on it?
I mean, options of mileage. These things, A, weren't driven. B, another one doesn't exist.
It's like
it's a
100,000?
really is a one of one,
One of one.
at least.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, at least. I don't have exact numbers on that. I will. Another note, I'm actually been building software that has using machine learning and going through. I've worked on it with Carrera GTs to figure out, okay, of that price, how much is mileage? How much is the fact that it has luggage? How much of the fact is basalt black and not GT silver?
You know,
So
it's
been
interesting
really
you say that. I think so. I didn't watch a ton of all the auctions, very busy, but I did at the hotel in San Jose. I caught a little bit of one of the Mecum auctions, and that had a Carrera GT go through. And at the very end, I think it hadn't quite met reserve, and so they were saying, buy right now, or raise it to this price and we'll throw in the luggage. But if you don't, we're not giving you the luggage. And I don't think the price raised, so the car was separated from its luggage.
We'll take
I think they wanted $20,000 or $25,000 more.
And there's probably
That's
people
what the
that would pay
luggage is on
premiums
eBay
for-
now.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
people pay that premium for luggage,
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely.
So split it.
Interesting.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, so Mecum with the Carrera GTs, one went through sub 1,000 miles, 700 and change. That one didn't sell. That one was only bid to like 1.4, if I remember correctly. And then the other one went almost 1.6 all in, which would be about, if you back out the fees, about 1.4 million. That one had 3,000 miles on it. Carrera GTs were fairly flat. They hit right exactly where the algorithm of recent sales said they should.
Okay.
My algorithm said a Carrera GT should sell for 1.092 million. It sold for 1.075. Like they were that on the
they're
money.
on the mark. Oh,
That's
Right
so
on the
cool. You
market.
have your own algorithm for this.
Yeah,
That
working
is-
on it. Yeah,
wow.
it's fun.
We're working on it. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you have
we
when you
enjoy it.
can't make it there? Do you have people who are reporting back? Because like when we were at Broad Arrow, we were looking at the Courier GT. I think it was the Courier GT, and it looked like it had led a little bit of a rough.
it was driven.
Yeah,
it was driven.
It
yeah.
was it was not pristine, what you would expect to see a low mileage, barely no mileage Courier GT. You have people that report because it's not really new cars you're comparing, so it's hard to say. Well, this car only sold for this much. Another good example is they had a red 964 Speedster that seemingly sold really low compared to the silver one. And so in our last podcast, we were thinking there had to be something that brought this price down, right?
Yep.
So-
And then you see it.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can see the cars. I don't have anybody out there. So like when I start, I'm just watching the live feeds, and some auctions do a better job of in description than others. So kind of get a feel for that. Like when you start looking at the 356 market, it's all over the place, and you can't tell without being there.
Yeah.
How those cars really are
Right.
in person.
Right. And pictures are not enough.
They're
right?
not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a car that went through the rounds on our Works Union staff group chat, and it was a Speedster. Was it?
Yeah,
a
that's the
96
red one. That's the 964 Speedster narrow body car.
Okay,
that-
so yeah.
Yeah.
We thought that car was a steal because it seemed to go for 964 C2 money. And then we're looking at ourselves like, and it sold.
What is it? 127.
127 for
Yeah.
for the red 964
But
Speedster.
like a silver
Well,
one sold for $229.
Yeah, and we're like,
same weekend.
What happened?
Yeah.
Was it the one with the red wheels?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But please don't tell me it's because it has
Yeah.
red wheels. Because like that's a $5,000 change, and all of a
It's
sudden I have it.
easy.
If that's all it has, I buy it all day long at 127, change the wheels, and make 200 and sell it for
It
two.
had comfort seats too.
Okay, even comfort seats. That's another $5,000. So 10 grand into changing something. Why did that car go? I mean, do you know?
That one I don't. I didn't really follow the Speedster market. I was really into the turbo market, the
Yeah.
930 turbo.
Yeah.
Because that's what I started watching. Because the Broad Arrow was the first auction to kind of kick off the auction scene, because they had the sale during Motorlux,
Yep.
which I thought was really cool to have
Yeah.
it with the event.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And some of the early cars, they had two slant noses go through, a coupe
Yeah.
and a cab, and they didn't sell. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a rough
They
ride.
actually had 3 on display.
Yeah. Well, then, so they had the two not sell, the slant nose cab, the slant nose coupe, and then the Targa comes up, and I'm like, oh, this is not gonna do
Which
so
has
well.
to be really rare.
Yeah.
It really rare. It went to 500,000.
That's
I was like,
crazy.
okay,
Wow.
the world isn't
Really?
ending. Everything's
Right.
gonna be good.
Right.
Sitting there, they look like
Like-
this guards red slant noses, but they certainly one didn't look junky or anything differently.
We
No.
actually in our walk around video we talk about all three of them, and we're like, we would take any of them.
I think they all had
Take the
tan
Targa.
interiors. Maybe
Yeah.
it was so similar.
But the Targa.
We thought you had to buy all 3.
Rarity.
They
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
gotta go
world
with
is
the
right.
Targa.
The world is right though when you see it like that, because you kind
Yeah.
of freak out when examples like that don't do well, and you
Yeah.
think about
And it was early.
Yeah.
It was like the first
Yeah.
10 cars of the to set the tone for the auction weekend, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh wow, this is.
do you think the in 2022 same auction weekend, Monterey Car Week, do you think that all 3 of those would have sold?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
you think
Everything
so?
sold.
So you think just a couple years on things have changed, and maybe tastes and
Yep.
people spending habits?
It's not taste. It's just the overall market. There's not as much money in the market anymore.
Mm.
You still have money on the top end of the market, but in that top end money, so cars that were once a million were then like 1.5, 1.9 million, and everything else started moving up with it because at all different price points, everybody was flush with money between 2021, 2022. Now
Because they were stuck at home. They weren't spending money on other things.
They were stuck at home, and the guy was like,
Exactly. Make it rain. Make it rain.
everybody had money.
Was it that, or was it that they were looking for higher return investments and they looked at collector cars, and versus now they may be looking at real estate or stocks or something that.
Well, real estate went through the roof during that 2020 to 2022 period. Stocks went through the roof during that same period. Everything did. Like people were just flush with cash.
Yeah.
Money was
already
cheap.
hoarding the cash right now.
Money was cheap.
I feel like
Yeah.
we're back at a more normal time now when it comes to the car.
And even
market.
though we're in a normal time now,
Yeah.
things aren't falling off a cliff. They're just
Yeah.
kind of either chug along steady.
Yeah.
Some things are a little bit of a rise. Some things are a little bit of going a little bit lower.
You mean to say it's a normal market, maybe?
It's a normal market. Yeah.
That's what people forget.
This is what normal feels like.
Yeah, this is what
Yeah.
normal feels like, right?
There are
Like,
new sports cars
and-
sitting in
and-
the showroom.
and let's be thankful that we're in a brand that has experienced such a crazy ride the past couple of years, and now we're in a normalized market. Just think about if you had a different brand car, like
it's
you
a
know?
normal market, but not normal like 2014 market.
Correct.
Because you're not going to see the $13,000 911 a seat.
No.
But you could probably find a sub $20,000 987 Cayman now, or Boxster.
Yes, I
Yes.
agree with,
Yep.
with Damon
Yep.
because unscientifically, I look at the Mart every single day, sometimes several times a day. And,
There's a reason.
Did you catch that 4,000 mile Boxster?
and
this
Oh, I
week?
didn't actually.
Ooh, yeah. See, I'm on the hunt for a sub $10,000 early Boxster with about 80,000 miles.
80,000.
It's a tough
huh?
ask.
It's a tough ask. But I
Yeah.
think we'll get there
I
again.
think you can
I
do
think
it,
we
yeah.
can do it. Not there yet.
Yeah,
I've got 2
it's-
years because I think it's the perfect
It's
first
coming,
car
they're coming down.
for my daughters.
Nice. Oh, yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
It's stick.
You'll
Their
be
friends
the best
can't
dad
drive
ever.
it. So their friends
I've
can't
got-
drive
I've
it.
got something for
2
you.
seats.
I've got something for you, David. We'll talk later.
Not a BMW. See,
See, I'm
I've
looking
got some for you.
I'm looking for a 97,
Yeah.
99,
I think it's great.
but low miles Boxster.
They're not fast. They're
No.
quick. They're
They're
they
fun to
handle
drive.
it,
That'll be a
but they're not
daily for
fast.
you, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'd be going
Yeah.
from 139 horsepower to 201, so it'd be like a turbo to me.
Oh gosh, him with more power. I don't know if that's a good thing.
But anyway,
it's good that he doesn't have power.
going back to my initial thought, just watching our Mart, I've seen the prices start to come down, like on 996s. I'm not saying the market's dropping on 996s,
But it's softening. It's coming down.
it is definitely softening. You can see prices, as you say, coming a little bit back more to normal, where you're like, you know what, I could justify buying this car. This is what I would expect this car to be worth.
Yeah.
And I think they will eventually go back up in value. But I always tell people, even to this day, I don't think there was some 911 SEs I'd buy even if they went back to 15,000 because I didn't buy it when they were 15,000.
Yeah.
Now they're 45,000, and I'm certainly not going to buy it. It's condition still goes a long way. Just because
Yeah.
the price of a 996 has gone down to 25,000, if the condition isn't there, to me, the value is not there.
And what I like about this current market is it gives you that luxury, Manny, to be a little bit more discerning and have the ability to wait and see if something that meets your standards come up. Because, in 2021, 22, it was like, I'll take whatever comes up and I'll have to buy it and live with
And
it,
pay
right?
pay all the money
and
for
pay
it.
all the money for it. But now you can wait because you know something's going to pop up.
We're
and
patient.
and be
That's
reasonable.
probably why sell-through rates are a little bit lower,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And then also, when you see sell-through rates start to get lower just in the overall Porsche market, then sellers start to adjust their expectations and they go back up to, low to mid-70s. That's kind of where things tend to normalize.
Yeah. So we never talk about politics on the podcast, but I will ask the question, do you think, with an election year, do people kind of hold things tight and because they don't know what holds in the future, that they're not going to buy a car and wait and see, or?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think everything waits till after November.
I
Whether
think
it's
so, too.
cars or not.
I think so too.
You're
No
just
matter where you fall.
No matter
on-
where you fall,
you
you're
just
just waiting
kinda
for it to
are
be over.
Holding, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the real tell on the direction of the next few years. I think will be Amelia because the election will be over.
Right.
We're either going to start to have had some rate cuts,
Yeah.
so interest rates will be going down. So okay, how's that going to affect the market? If the election's over and interest rates are a little bit lower, and we're still kind of inching down,
Yeah.
then that's okay. Maybe we are
Little
really
yeah.
heading into a
Yeah.
trough.
Yeah.
Buy the dip.
And I'm talking about normal mortals here. The people on the high end, it doesn't matter. They're going to still buy their collector cars, blue chip cars, and stuff like that. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Now, how about cars that didn't do well that surprised you?
Oh, 2.7 RSs.
Really?
Yes,
Interesting.
2.7 RSs did terribly. We came off of a couple close to $2 million sales for a couple lightweight cars not too long ago. There were 3 lightweight cars at Monterey. None of them sold.
Wow.
There were 2 Tourings. One sold, one didn't. The money was, nothing to write home about. But that was really surprising to me, was seeing those 2.7 RSs.
So is that a factor of people not wanting to pay up, or is it a factor of sellers don't want to reduce?
I couldn't tell you because the bids were really low.
Really?
Yeah, the bids were
how
like
low are we
1.2.
talking? Okay.
1.2 when a car should be 2?
And a car,
yeah.
Or a lightweight.
Wow.
yeah, for a lightweight. So lightweight, 1.1, 1.2. One actually was bid to 850.
That's it?
Yeah.
Whoa,
It's like,
that's
what
crazy.
happened there?
What happened
Was
there?
that the
Yep.
one that brought Arrow?
The one at RM.
RM.
Yep, the broad arrow car looks like it was bid to 1.2. The Mecum car
That's
was
the one
bid
that
to
Nathan
1.1.
picked. Remember the
Yeah.
orange or red
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
The orange one that was
Had the
rally
front
wreck car.
Yeah, it had the RSR
Yeah.
flares on it.
How
And
much
you
did that
know-
one go for? Or bid up
That one
to?
didn't sell. I don't.
None of them sold.
Yeah.
None of them.
Yeah, none of them sold. Yeah, only a Touring sold.
Oh.
Yep.
Wow.
Maybe something happened after the fact that I didn't pick
Yeah.
up on, but still.
So I'm not
I
super
don't think
tuned into
so.
the RS market or 2.7 RS market.
I don't think any of us are, Damon.
That's surprising, Dave.
but I, like, I keep my ears open, and I feel like we've heard so much about RSs and GT3 RS and RS this and RS that and Spider RS and this, and I have the feeling that tastes have changed. They'll come back, but maybe people are putting their attention elsewhere. I mean,
I don't know. To me, RS is always special, and regardless if it's 1.2 million or 2 million, if you own an RS, congratulations to you, and I hope you're driving it and enjoying it. And I think the people that own RSs probably aren't as concerned as someone like us going 1.2 versus 2, because it's their car and they have it and they're going to enjoy
it
it.
just means they're going to be able to drive it for another couple of years
they can
until
enjoy
the market
it.
comes back up.
Exactly.
Right?
Just wait.
So,
They don't
This
have to
way,
sell
it'll
it.
come back. I mean, and
Yep.
an RS will always be an RS, and at some point in time, people go like, "Oh man, how do I get an RS?" And there's only a specific number that's
There's
out
only a
there.
specific number of good ones.
Yeah,
too.
good ones, exactly. So.
Buying at these auctions like an RS, they do a really good job of vetting these cars.
Yeah.
Buying an RS out in the street, that's another story.
Oh, yeah,
that's
exactly.
tougher. So
Exactly.
many have been messed
A good
with
example
and-
still pulls good money because the heritage, how it was maintained. Was it built from a pile of rust, or was it
Yeah.
a car that's been maintained all its life?
Yep.
So there's so many stories to that. So how about? Let me ask for a friend. How's the 356 market doing?
that was all over the place. And again, that's a tough one to speak to from afar because you have to see those.
Yeah,
cars.
condition is everything.
Conditions everything. You don't have as detailed photographs, as detailed write-ups like we see if we're looking at an online auction, for instance, because they know they're selling to people who aren't there.
Yeah.
Whereas the in-person auctions, people, they send their buyer. Do you have time to inspect? Do you can really sit down and talk to some of the people that are representing the cars? But I mean, overall, the 356 market wasn't terrible. Speedsters did fairly well. Let's see, we had 2 cars, 2 1600 Super Speedsters. Both were a 12-month top 3. So one at RM hammered at 425. The sister car at Gooding, Bottoms hammered for 425 as well. So they were really, really strong. Only one of those Speedsters didn't sell. So Roadsters did pretty good. There was that Gooding Roadster was the second highest car we've seen in 12 months. So another strong sale there. And then we had a SC Cabriolet that was a new 5-year high.
Was that the one
It was
at
a
Mecum?
normal- that one was the Mecum one.
The Mecum one. That was a nice
Yep,
car.
that was the Mecum one.
Super nice car.
Yeah. So that was a new high. We had a Will Hoy engined
Okay.
Roadster do really well, so it wasn't terrible. But then you have other 356, like I said, I couldn't put eyes on them. That
Yeah.
were kind of a little bit behind.
Yeah.
That still sold,
Oh.
but the sell-through rate wasn't bad in the 356 market. It was better than the average, right there. what really.
David, you're not helping me.
Sorry.
I'm happy for 356
All right.
owners, but that's
Yep.
not what I was
And
hoping to hear.
Yeah.
Well, everybody wants to hear the narrative. The old cars are going in the toilet because nobody wants.
People still
those people
want
have
them.
moved on.
People still want
Did you ask him ahead of time what the 64 Impala market looks like?
He says he only tracks Porsche markets. If he was tracking 64 Impala markets, we would be having that discussion here. But again, I think we're in a brand that there's a finite amount of good example cars, and if you want those good example cars, they're going to fetch a premium. And in the case of a 356, like I personally look at that as sort of rolling pieces of artwork, right?
Yeah.
That you can drive and enjoy. I haven't met a single person that has looked at a 356 and hasn't smiled or thought it was cute or thought it was beautiful or knows the history. So it's like timeless. Like it's always going to be that demand for that car. I think will always be there. I don't care how old you are.
Because you have like even the younger collectors,
Yeah.
they get their GT3 RS, they get their newer cars, and then they want to start experiencing the heritage.
Exactly.
So the 993s go up, the other cars, and eventually they start discovering the 356s and want to drive that too.
Yeah, where it all
and
began.
enjoy that car too.
Where it all began
Yep.
for the brand. Everybody wants a piece of
See,
it.
what I've heard, I watch a couple, like I think CNBC, maybe another news network did a little bits about the auction collector car market, and they were parroting the 90s cars.
They know the 90s are
now
hot.
the new generation
Yeah,
now
yeah,
is switching
absolutely.
over, and they're looking at, and I think the new generation is going from Boomer to Generation X with the money, and they're saying 90s cars are like the hit.
Oh, they're on the rise. 100%.
Yeah.
Because that's what
They grew up with.
People grew up with. They're finally coming into their earning years. But those people that are looking at the '90s cars are then eventually starting to look at the older cars. I was involved in like the older Bugatti market for a while, and all those guys, driving the Type 35s, Type 37, like the old vintage race cars, were worried like who's going to want these things, and you then had all the newly rich people buying the Veyrons and Chirons going like, oh wait, I want to go back and experience some of Bugatti's history.
Yeah.
And prices for those didn't fall off the face of the earth. People still wanted them. Unfortunately, it also meant they weren't getting raced as much anymore. You only see them, on the track here and there.
But I think that also has to apply to certain brands and brands that have very limited numbers.
And
Because if you
that
look
still
at
exist.
if you and the cars that still exist, because if you go to like the Model Ts, if you go to like 60s and 70s muscle cars, I don't think you can say the same just because there were so many of them. And I don't know, maybe the younger, like I don't think my kids would appreciate a Chevelle or a GTO or a 70 fastback Mustang like I do.
Yeah.
But I don't know that. I don't know.
What's their poster car right now?
So my kid, believe it or not, he went to parade, and I was snooping on his phone as every parent does, and he's taking pictures of 944 turbos and 968s. I'm like, why do you like that? He's like, I like the pop-up headlights.
There you go.
I'm like, that's why you like the car? He's like, yeah. He's like, new cars don't have this. That's pretty cool, Dad.
How old? Yeah, so in 30 years when he's earning money, 944s, 924s will finally get their due.
He's 19, and he's totally like, I love that. I think that's
There
so
you go.
cool. I'm like,
Get
what?
to be out of while you can.
I know, right? I'm like,
Yep.
Do you think they'll ever like a 356 or an older air-cooled 911? Because I can say that I probably, having driven, I've said this probably too many times now, but having driven older Porsches, I definitely prefer newer Porsches. Let's say post 1990 as a general thing.
Even people's like your tastes have changed over the years.
have,
Everybody's
definitely.
years. I would, you asked me 5 years ago, would I ever want an old curved dash? I'd be like, oh yeah, okay.
yeah,
I would. I want an old curved dash right now.
yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yep. I want to experience a veteran car.
Yeah,
And have that
exactly.
driving
Maybe
experience.
it's because I've already experienced them,
Yeah.
just not owned them yet.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
For me, I love Beetles. Love looking at old Beetles. In my head, I'm always thinking, yeah, I could own one of these. But then I think I drive my cars pretty hard. And, really, I mean, I like to
Yeah.
drive them hard. And,
The most truthful thing said today.
the hardest driven Beetle ever.
and I don't think I would be able to enjoy the Beetle like I would a 356.
No.
A 356, even a
Is a Beetle
A,
meant to be driven hard?
even an A, I could drive pretty hard. I've driven them hard, and they respond really well.
Yeah.
A Beetle, I think, obviously was first thing I hear is, well, they're cruisers. They're not meant to be. I respect that, but that's why I don't own a Beetle. But I
Yeah.
want to own a 356 because I know that's not many cars from the 50s that you can drive hard like that.
Yep.
And we walk around Cars and Coffee,
Yep.
and I say, we look at the 50s American cars. I'm like, think about what America was building and what Germany, mainly because of the war, had to, losing the war, had to build. And look at it,
Completely
completely different philosophies. You got these big American hulking cars, which do nothing for me, but the little German car, does everything. And so to me, that old 50s car doesn't mean all 50s cars, but the Porsche will.
Well, and back to Damon's comment about how he's more drawn to the newer cars, which I get. And I think people that get to a point in their life where hopefully they're lucky enough to own the fast one, the modern one, but they also, for me, I think back to, I think back to a certain time, like I want a 70s experience, I want an 80s experience, I want a 60s experience, and I expect that car to drive like how it did back in the 70s and 80s. So I get it. Like I used to want a quarter mile car, do 10s and 11s, and I have something that does that now, but now I want something, I've talked about this before. Like I want my mom's 79 or 77 B210 hatchback. That's a terrible car, but I'm not getting it for its
Nostalgia,
performance. I want to get it because I remember sitting in the passenger seat and playing with the AC knob that looked like a cue ball and just drive it and smell it and just be the time capsule. Now, what Manny is saying with the performance wise is you kind of can have best of both worlds with a 356 is you can have that nostalgia, but actually have a car that can keep up with modern traffic. Where, as you said, with a Beetle, you're struggling, right?
And also, the 356s that I've driven, I think 2 or 3, one an old Speedster, good mechanicals, but like rough looking, and then a very nice 64, 65 SC. They were really, really, really different to drive and how they felt. Probably more so than, gosh, I'd almost say like a Carrera versus a GT3.
A lot of that has to do also with how they're maintained.
Yeah.
I've driven the old 54 that had bushings from 54, and I've driven a 54 where everything was replaced. It was the same thing as the early 911s. When I drove the RS from Carl's, it was worlds different than the S that I had driven. And primarily because Carl had told us he had gone over this car completely, changed all the suspension, still stock, but everything was new now. And so what I was feeling was probably closer to 1973 than to 2020. So, that's the same thing when I drove my 170,000 mile 964, and I drive Project 964 with 30,000 miles right away. The shifting is crisper. Every little thing you're like, oh yeah, this is what a car at the 130,000 miles less feels like.
But you don't notice it if it's
No.
happening over several
Over
years
time.
or decade over
Oh,
time,
yeah.
right?
Sure.
Like I didn't
Yep.
notice I got a little bit put on a little bit. It happened a little bit every day, and then one day you look in the mirror and go, "Oh, I need to go."
When
on
the
a diet."
button popped out.
Hey,
Compounding.
stop it. Okay. I knew it was going to come up anyway. All right. So, anything else? What about So we saw a Cayenne at Mecum, and I don't normally think of 4-doors and such at auctions. Were there other 4-door? It was a Cayenne Turbo or Cayenne Turbo S, and I think it went for, it was like a 20-some mile turbo in light yellow, super clean.
Which auction house again?
It was Mecum.
It was Mecum. It sold for like $47,000.
Yeah, it sold for
Yeah.
good money.
I'll
A
track
2012.
4-doors in
Yeah.
a newsletter.
Yeah.
But at the auction, unless it's like a Trans-Siberia.
Okay.
Or something really, really cool.
Because we had a
these
PCA
off-road
member that was interested in it, and I think our national president was even interested. We're like, well, how did this car end up here, right? And it's a 2012, and I said it would be a steal for anything around 40. Like it would be a steal to me.
Oh, and that color.
And that
I
color,
can kinda see it.
it's
And the wheels.
and it went for
wow.
47, which I think is with auction fees. Like they bought it right, but it wasn't a steal.
It
It's
wasn't
like the
sale.
yellow
Sand
one?
Yeah,
yellow.
yeah, yeah.
Sand,
Sand yellow,
yellow.
that's
what it
With espresso interior.
20,000 miles, right?
Yeah, and the wheels, those are
It's
really
I
nice.
kinda
wheels.
like it.
It's a gorgeous
Oh,
car.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna get a Cayenne,
I can see why that
why that one
went
did
for
well.
that much.
Yeah.
It's probably one of one.
Probably, right?
Spec-wise.
Everything's one of one. Everything's one of one.
Everything
If you want it
Porsche is
to
one
be.
of one anymore now.
Yeah.
So as far as surprises go, I wasn't surprised, but if you want your clickbait end of the world story, I'd have to say it's the old race cars. They just continue, and it's been like this for a number of years now. They just don't sell. They haven't been selling the 2 550 Spiders. did not sell. The RS, there's a 17 RSK center seater, didn't sell for the 6th time in a row. Like, this is the 6th
Yeah, it's
time
the one
it's
we
been
saw
at
last
auction.
year.
At Mecum, huh?
Oh.
Yeah.
Still, like, I would love to know the story behind this thing, because these cars are so old. There's so much has happened to them, and things have been changed. Like with Spiders, it's really hard, like, because half the car is probably not original to the car at this point. Because
Yeah.
they crashed, they're raced, and whatnot. But that's something. That Spider, I'd love to know.
So track only? Well, I guess the Spider is a race car, but it's also
Well, it was a
street
race
legal.
car, yeah.
So
These cars had history. 904 didn't sell, 906 didn't sell. And RSR, it took getting into the 90s race cars to finally start to see sales.
That Chupin 962R,
Yeah.
Chupin,
Did it
did not sell.
No,
Not
that
sell.
didn't sell.
that's crazy.
Okay, so I'll ask the question again. Is it because the sellers are trying to ask for prices that are from 2021, 22? Or is it the
Yeah,
the
maybe they haven't
aren't
adjusted their-
they haven't adjusted their expectations?
Yep.
And or the customer isn't willing to go that high? Because let's face it, race cars, even within PCA, even a normal, say, club race car, like that's a very specific use purchase that either you're going to sink even more money into it and go racing with it, or it's just going to be a fairly valuable vase
Yeah.
that's parked in your
And I
garage.
see, a lot of these race cars too, they trade hands privately. And you'll see, maybe they're just Halo cars to get news, for the auction houses.
Yeah.
Just feels like, oh yeah, 1954 550 that raced at Le Mans is going to be, in
yeah,
Monterey.
like Mecum just had the Steve McQueen that's
Yep.
going to be at
That's
Kissimmee.
Is it
Kissimmee? Yeah.
November or January? Or
January.
January,
Yeah,
yeah.
Kissimmee.
That's
in
Jerry
January.
Seinfeld's car.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
I mean, it's working.
Shall
We're
say.
talking about it.
We're
right?
talking about
Yeah,
it.
So,
But it's been continuously. They just haven't been selling at auction, at least. But yeah, are they trading hands privately? Probably. Yeah,
Now,
there's
how
some-
much
there's
does it
some
hurt a
dealers that can tell
car
you.
when, like, a Carrera GT doesn't sell? And it's pretty public what the last bid was. Does that hurt that car when it goes back? Because people say, well, it didn't sell at XYZ auction back in 2024, and now they're bringing it back again.
No, because you see it even on the online auctions constantly.
Yeah.
You see one car not sell at auction A, and then a week and a half later, it's on auction B, and it brings more. And then sometimes it brings less and sells. It just depends.
depends on if the two individuals
Yep.
are there willing to fight it out,
Yeah.
right?
Or is it, well, the online, which you look at is right as you look at the comments. Because from the comments,
you get the
sometimes you
comments.
can drill down to see
Why?
this car didn't
Oh,
sell.
yeah,
Did
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
point something out? Did the seller not acknowledge it? Or was there any you really can't get that from a live auction necessarily.
No.
But with the comments, that's a positive or negative, however you look at it, on the online that you, because I'll have members call up and ask about a certain car, and I'll put the VIN number in. Like you said, you can search and see right away which auctions it was at online, if it ever made it online, and say, yeah, well, it sold back in 2022 for this much, and if you start looking at the comments, this is why it sold for this much.
Yeah, and with our experience from the sale of the classic Club Coupe last year, I think people are often unaware that it's not like they put a car out there and then hope someone is there to bid for it. A lot of the auction houses' jobs is to make sure that whatever car they bring, they're also bringing the right customer that's interested in that car. And they might not even be there in person. They might make them aware so that they can do a phone bid.
Put on the
So
phone.
it's not happenstance that someone was, sipping or eating a lobster roll, as Manny said, and looked left and said, "Oh, that's a car I might want to buy." Like, that's not how it works.
It's not random.
Yeah, it's not random. It's not random. Yeah.
Every once in a while, a little alcohol involved.
Right, but-
some of the sales towards the end of the auction.
Right.
You'll see go a little crazy. Two guys fighting it out. Just
Right,
for
right,
good
right,
measure.
right, right. But that's more Hollywood than anything. That's not how it really happens. It's very orchestrated.
Yep.
Now, Manny has on here talking a little bit about ADM. You want to talk about how you?
Our GT4 RS is still going for $100,000.
Are you still
more.
seeing a lot of the dealer markup on car models, or just you seeing it start to come down?
So in Monterey, a couple deals were 2022, 2023 GT4 RS and a GT3 Touring that made new lows. Yeah.
So was that the black one with the blue wheels?
Yeah.
The one I picked.
Oh.
So, see, and I
Yeah.
said on that podcast, it looks like for 250, I think the estimate was, or 2 to
So,
250.
so there was an opportunity for you to buy that car with no ADM.
There was the 2022 911 GT3 Touring hammered at 200, 2023 GT4 RS hammered at 180.
and sold
See? Less than 200.
Yeah.
and sold.
Yeah. And that what's crazy about the Touring was we had just come off a new all-time high.
Yeah.
Like, we went from high to low
Whoa.
all within a couple weeks.
Wow.
That's
And we're now
crazy.
to the, after yesterday's sale of the Ruby Star car, now we're back at even. So
Oh, really?
things went real quick.
Wow.
Crazy.
But yeah, those were a couple deals. ADM in dealerships, you're starting to see 718s in inventory, new. So there's, I talked to dealers, there's still a wait for your 911s, but your 718s you're seeing out there. There's new style editions. I've seen a few in my dealership visits.
So no one is that tells me that people aren't rushing to buy the last of the gas engine cars for 718s.
At least the normal ones. I don't know. I
Or
think
they
the
did last year, and now they're trying to
you
sell
know,
them.
Spider.
yeah.
Recently, a couple Spiders have the Spider market has
Yeah.
kind of slowly picked up by a few $1,000s. We'll see if it continues. I noticed that this week with the most recent sales. So I think eventually they'll find their floor, and then whether or not we ever see a combustion, mid-engine car like that again remains to be seen. But that'll dictate that price for sure.
But next year's the year to decide, right?
All right.
Because there'll be still a few on the lot, and if you want to have one, get it. Because then otherwise,
Hard stop with the EVs
Hard
coming
stop.
out.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how that affects.
I think a
price.
lot to me with how the EV is going to be when it comes out.
yeah.
What's
I gotta imagine
reviews on it?
they're not going to put out a car that doesn't kick the previous versions.
No, I think that's not going to be an issue. It's going to be how much does it weigh.
Is it fun?
Is exactly
Yeah.
is it fun? If
Yeah.
it's fun to drive and is as comparable or better than the ICE version.
Here's what they need to make sure that they don't do, and I don't mean to poke fun at the other German brand, but the M5 Touring that came out at Quail, it got slaughtered online.
Yeah.
Slaughtered
I
online.
haven't seen that yet.
Oh my gosh.
Is
it
it
got
ugly or
Well, okay. Looks is one thing, but just the fact that it's slower, it's heavier, it's just like all the things that an enthusiast does not want.
It's like an old Suburban. It's huge.
The M5 Touring, not the
Touring, yeah.
Touring. So yeah, that's as Manny said. It all depends on what they come out with because because it's new.
Looks cool.
Yeah,
wow, it's a big car.
it's
Yeah,
huge.
that is.
It's
It looks big in
huge.
pictures.
And it's interesting, at least the Car and Driver article has it in matte finish. It's kind of dark, so it hides the size of it.
There was no hiding it at Quail. I think it was in green at Quail.
Oh, this doesn't
Wearing
look all
vertical
that
stripes, not horizontal stripes.
Yeah. David, why are you looking at me when you say that?
Talking to you.
But yeah, it's definitely going to be dependent on how those cars are received.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, like, interesting stuff happened out there. I wish I went. I followed everybody, social media and whatnot. The launch of that new GT1 by Tuttle.
Yeah.
The Ruf Rodeo. Speaking of Ruf,
Ruf,
Ruf
yeah,
did
rodeo.
so well at Monterey.
Oh, you talk
Yeah,
about
so
that.
that CTR2 is a new record at auction for any roof. Hammered at $1.9 million. Wow. And I saw that thing in person out in Cali. Broad Arrow had it on display during Air Water.
Air Water, yep.
Yep,
mhm,
that event.
Yep, yep.
Beautiful, beautiful car, one owner car. And that has me thinking, like, if that went for 1.9, and I know that CTR anniversaries, there was a sale at like 1.7. I've heard rumblings that they're even higher, maybe even approaching 3 million. Like, what happens when a CTR, an OG real
I know.
W09
Yeah.
I'm just
CTR
thinking
comes
about
to
the video
market?
we just dropped.
Yeah.
The Blackbird.
Yeah.
The converted
Oh,
to black
yeah.
at
Yeah.
roof.
Yeah.
Man, that means that's probably a
That's a
$4
legend.
million car.
Yeah.
That's in the bigger picture. One of the things we talk about is where are these cars going to be in 10 years? I think Roost stands a little bit above because they're their own manufacturer.
They've been doing it for so long.
But now it
Even
seems
though
like
it's not
everybody and his
localized.
brother is now getting into this retro, not being their own manufacturer, but just taking some chassis 993, 964 and turning
They're-
it.
they're
into-
reinterpreting it.
Yeah, reimagining, reinterpreting,
yeah.
whatever. What are these cars going to be worth in about a decade or even more. You know,
I
will
don't
be.
know. What are you willing to pay for a Gambala Avalanche?
That's what I think of. Is
Now,
that
here's the thing. 10 years ago, probably nothing.
But now they're coming back.
because
Yep.
they're so iconically 80s.
Koenig.
and-
I think if they keep the prices for the aft tuners who will keep making cars. Like, imagine if Gambala was still around. There was no unbroken record of Gambala making cars. If they were like Ruf, I think their cars would be worth more today.
Yeah.
Because, you know...
There's a whole lot more drama to that story.
Well,
you know?
yeah. You just love
Of
it.
why it's
we'll
stopped.
use Koenig then.
Yeah.
Actually,
Talk about Koenig.
Yeah, look it up on the internet. Uwe, spelled Uwe Gambala, and you'll see.
It's a Netflix-
That wasn't a nice ending.
That was a Netflix special.
It's been over 10 years. We're good.
Yeah. But like a Koenigsegg, like 560 SEC, a wide body one of those, to me now, like I remember when that came out, that was crazy.
You can win Redwood with it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
What else you can do with
Yes.
it? But
Yeah.
you can win Redwood.
But I think people of that time are now kind of able to buy cars like that, as long as they're not stupid money, so to speak. Like they could kind of be silly and buy that car, right? And you're starting to see that.
But I mean, they are stupid money in a sense, because singers are what, minimum $1 million.
Oh yeah.
To get
Depends
into
on the
singers?
Oh
engine.
yeah, I was about to say.
So-
way more than that.
Yeah, the old 3.8.
Yeah.
The older engines are going to be sub million. The
Yeah.
4.0s are over $1 million. They kind
Over
of been
$1 million.
hovering there.
And to me, everyone they makes one less exclusive one. And I think in the last podcast I said, if you really, really, really want to be super exclusive, you now got to have a Sunderwunsch Porsche, because
yeah.
they build one a year, I think, or something like that. Versus there was a lot of singers in Monterey.
Yeah.
You know,
So
it
that
wasn't-
DLS went for what'd that DLS sell for? That
What
was
did-
a strong number. That went for 2.8 million, which was when you add the fee, it was about what I've seen them asked for online.
What did
That's
this?
a lot of money.
What did
Yeah.
the singer do? The blue singer at Broad Arrow do?
The Broad Arrow one.
It was a blue one. I think we did that one on the video too.
Oh, I
It
don't.
wasn't a DLS, but it was also
Yeah, I've got the two. I've got
Oh,
the
that was a
Gooding car
Targa.
and the
No,
RM.
that was
a
a
Targa,
Targa.
you're right.
That was the
Singer.
Targa.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
That,
Yeah, the Gooding one went for just over $1 million. That had the 4-liter engine.
Yeah, they're still $1 million cars.
The 3.8 liter one was an older restoration from older Singer from 2017. That was a no sale at $850.
Wow.
Still big money for
Yeah.
Still big money
It's
for
kind
a
of funny. I
car.
remember when Singer first started, you could get one for a little over $300,000 with the base engine.
We
Yeah,
also
so-
remember when we could have bought a Carrera GT for $300. But
Exactly right.
also-
look at the
What-
idiots that we are sitting here without none of us having any of them.
when I was shopping for combs.
Yeah, I was like, do I want a house with the family, or do I want a Carrera GT for 300? We should have freaking bought the Carrera GT.
Bought a
right?
I
bigger
knew
house.
my hunch was correct. Yeah, but it had to be sensible.
Yeah.
But yeah, these special build cars, I just wonder what the market's going to be like in 10 years or 20 years.
Yeah. Is Singer going to still be around? What are they going to be making in
Singer,
10 years?
hell, I mean, I think Rod Emery will still be around, but
Yeah.
is the market going to be around for that kind of car? It's
we'll see.
I would hate to have to be paid to predict that, but
I think
Yeah.
they're, any of these, I'll call them boutique builders, they're probably all at least 3 to 5 years out on their orders. So I would say in the mid-range outlook,
We
they're,
got time.
they're probably just fine. Long range, and with the electrification of the world, will people's tastes change? I'm sure they're already thinking about that, right? I mean, that their business depends on them thinking and looking into the future. But it'll be interesting. You're starting to see, we talked about the BB Targa, where it has introduced the flywheel from Vonnen, and so you're starting to see it creep into custom EV and ICE, or will it go all customizing it so it's all EV? It's still yet to be kind of
Yeah.
determined, right?
TBT.
Yeah, exactly.
TBD.
Exactly.
I will say, talking to some people who can't afford the Mission X, and they've been approached by Porsche. I know Porsche is doing their due diligence, asking these potential customers. What seems to be a common theme is no one wants all electric. They're willing to do a hybrid, but they don't want to get rid of the internal combustion engine in a supercar.
Well, look at Mate Rimac a comes out and says, he makes the rim estimate vary. He's like,
Yeah.
nobody wants an all electric supercar. Pagani's just recently said that
He
as well.
said that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
He said it on
reading
a
that, yeah.
panel. So, yeah, nobody
well,
wants
good
it.
thing he developed that car as more of a demonstration
Yeah, it's
of
a
his
show of his company. Yep.
technology.
But yeah, I
wow.
thought
See,
I thought it
would
was
be excited
interesting.
For that, leading edge, cutting edge. But I mean, I know it would be different. But then again, I'm not the guy with
Well,
spending $3 million or whatever it is.
I will say that's a perfect segue into
Yeah.
Porsche News. But before we get into Porsche News, I want to remind you, if you're enjoying this episode, be sure to hit that like button. If you have something to share with us, or if you want to answer some of the questions that we've been asking on the podcast, please do comment. And of course, subscribe. We are at 96,000 subscribers on YouTube. Just 4 more thousand before we get to that shiny silver plaque. And I promise we will do something extremely fun when that plaque arrives. So if you can give us a like, comment, and subscribe. And into the Porsche news, and the transition was really talking about what Porsche is not willing to do that Hyundai's and I think it's the Ioniq that they are doing it to their cars.
that's simulating gear shifts. The feeling of driving an internal combustion engine with the gear shifting. And I've read some articles where people are calling Porsche out for not wanting to embrace this idea that Hyundai did, where it feels like you're driving an internal combustion engine. Germans being German, it reminded me of the PDK discussion when they first came out with PDK only in the GT3, and we were in that Porsche Platz tent that rode Atlanta, and Porsche engineers were getting more and more pissed because they were like, we don't understand. Why do you want us to build a slower car? You want a faster car? It's slower if we put manual in there. And people kept on saying, oh, we want to be able to shift. And I don't know, this is the same way that really it engages people more. I would love to drive an electric car that has this to see what it feels like. But I've never felt like I needed the simulation of gear shifting in an electric car.
So I don't like having vents on a car that aren't functional vents. I've never thought that I would want an electric car that simulated shifting, because that's not how electric cars normally work. And if you're simulating shifting, you're probably going slower. However, when I watched the Smoking Tire and Matt Farah review that Ioniq 5 and the shifting, and I gotta say, it looks kind of fun.
So, David,
wouldn't mind
your
that.
brain probably isn't processing this correctly because you're hearing what's coming out of his mouth from the youngest person at this table, but what he's actually saying sounds like the oldest person at this table, and that pretty much explains Damon.
Yeah,
I almost agree though, but because Porsche does these Porsche driving experiences in Area East, which are great, where they'll bring out customers at they just had Pocono Raceway last week, and they'll do some laps in Cayennes or Mecums and 911s, but they'll also have Taycons there at the autocross. And I had come off the track from being in a 911 and went right into the autocross with a Taycan last year, and not having the shifting really threw me off. It really threw me off. So I was thinking that case, on the track, having the shift points or the simulated shifting might put you back into okay, this is where I need to be braking and whatnot and accelerating.
I think Matt Farah actually said that. It was a
Oh,
track
really?
review. So
Yeah,
that's
it was
what he liked. He turned it on because his braking points.
Yeah,
when
I
it was
think that would
shifting.
help, because I was so thrown off coming out of, and it was a PDK night. It wasn't like I was rowing my own gears.
Right.
And going into the electric, just not having those shift points or the sound of the RPM changing.
As a cue to what to do or what to expect.
Yeah, it
Interesting.
made it tougher on the track for me.
Yeah.
The first time I drove a Taycan, it was strange not having a tack in the middle. And the first time I drove it wasn't on the track, but it was a very curvy road. And I remember thinking, I'm so used to my field of vision being able to see the tack, and it wasn't there. But then I real quickly realized it wouldn't matter anyhow. Because
Just going like this.
it's essentially automatic, so I'm not going to be switching gears or anything, and that it's almost instant torque. So from a performance standpoint of view, it was incredible because you didn't have to wait for. That's why I wonder: is this simulated gear shift? Does that mean that in between every gear shift I lose torque?
Yeah, in
and
the
wait
Hyundai,
for it to build
yes,
up?
you do. So 0 to 60 goes down by
So that's
half
why
a second.
Porsche
or
says
something.
we're not going to do it because it's
Probably.
actually making it slower.
Porsche didn't say that. They said that they're not going to offer that while they're still producing internal combustion.
Well, no, they said on there. They
right?
said that they don't build they don't understand why.
It would make them worse.
Why it would make it slower. It's so. Like I said, I would like to drive one. I would like to feel what it feels like to. I don't like the simulated sound. And in the Taycan, it's so in the background. But I told him, I said, I'm not expecting this car to sound like a gas car, so you don't have to amplify the electric sound anymore. It's not. I hear plenty with the wind noise, with the tire noise. I don't need any exhaust sound to heighten my experience.
So I'm still trying to process all of this, and I'm not sure where I fall. But I kind of look at, when you go to the movies, right? The scene where like the haunted or the excitement and the all of that sound is not natural.
No.
Right? It's like they amplify whatever sound that is. Like stepping on a branch sounds like a bone being crushed. But because they amplified it, and I know it's fake, but I enjoy the movie so much more because of it. So I'm kind of like, do I want that so that I can enjoy the drive more, or do I care that it's not real? I'm really conflicted, to be honest with you. I don't know how to answer
You're
that.
describing the Matrix.
But you know what I'm saying? Like a movie, there is nothing realistic about seeing a movie and what you hear and what you feel. None of that is real.
Wait, so what are you going to do with Fast and Furious 25 when they're all electric cars, but they want to shift 50 times?
They'll have to drive Hyundais and not Porsches to get that sound.
It'll be all.
But yeah, I'm really conflicted. My older side wants to say, if it's not like legit performance, don't include it. But then my other side is, well, it's kind of fun to have the sounds and extra emotion, building extra emotion into something that doesn't naturally have emotion.
So with an electric car as well, you're not necessarily, if you're giving a choice with an electric car, you're not losing performance by picking one choice together, because you always have both choices. You just decide, do you want to quote unquote shift, or do you not want to? With a gas engine car, obviously, if you don't want to shift, you have a automatic or PDK, and it is going to have different performance. It'll never be as fast.
So are you saying you don't see a problem with having it and then and give a choice?
Why not give a choice, just like Hyundai does with the Ioniq 5?
But then Porsche is saying, why invest in it? Because
they don't believe in it.
Oh.
It is very Porsche-like of them to say.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's what I would expect from
I
German
think giving
friends.
the choice, I'm like leaning towards give them the choice. And if you're the purist, then leave it off. But if the masses want a more emotional drive, even if it's fake.
You were in audio. You remember.
Yeah.
When you give people the choice, you know what they do? They take the equalizer and they put everything up to max. And then they call up saying, why is my sound so bad?
Why did I blow out my interior speakers when I did it?
That's what happens when you give them a choice.
Yeah, you give it.
They make bad choices.
They make-
When given choices.
All right, now I'm right back to the middle. Thanks, Manny. All right, let's see. The next one is has to do with motorsports and the championship at VIR.
Yeah, so this is everyone's favorite. Rexy is leading the championships in what's it, GTD Pro. Roxy, actually, not Rexy. Rexy is the other one that's a prototype. It's not a Porsche. But yeah, I don't know why VR, and we say this every year. Why doesn't VIR allow or why doesn't IMSA allow the prototypes to race at VIR?
Probably space.
That's huge.
That's huge.
No, it's
though.
huge. They have plenty of space.
Well, no. I mean,
track
on the
width.
track and the paddock, they're
Track
huge.
width is not like the widest track ever.
Yeah, track width would be what I would think.
It's pretty well. I mean, it's a track that they redid, and they've held pro races there before. And I mean, this is where Cadillac did their whole LMP1 program when they were going after Le Mans, because it had one of the longest straightaways in the country. I want to make a petition for them to bring
somebody at Porsche, right?
mainly because it's pretty close to us. we can drive
Not
down 5
self-serving
hours.
at all. It's only 5
Not
hours
at
from
all.
us.
I want the Washington Grand Prix to come back.
Oh yeah, that was or the
Petition-
Baltimore
the
Grand
Baltimore,
Prix.
that was it, Baltimore.
Grand Prix.
Yeah, the Baltimore. That was
Bring that back. Come on.
that was a shame that it only lasted 3 years. But yeah. Anyway, so for Porsche, it's by the time you listen to this, you will have known who won the Lone Star. What's it? Lone Star Le Mans, Lone Star Grand
Star
Prix.
Le
They're
Mans.
calling it the WEC. Their only visit to North America, which must be really strange because you have a whole different team. It's still Penske, but it's a different Penske team than what runs at IMSA. But they're both doing very well, and it looks like when it comes to IMSA, hopefully the Porsches will take the manufacturer and drivers championships. But with the WEC, it'll be fun to watch to see how they do at COTA, and of course with IMSA, that the AO Racing does well with their little dinosaur.
Mm-hmm. All right, our next topic. Oh, near and dear to my heart. Did you
Well, I
put this
picked
in?
this up
Did you put
just
this in
for
for
you.
me?
You know
Yes.
what, let me read the headline. Porsche release with teams with Puma to release platform shoes. Yeah, I wouldn't buy those. Sorry.
So it's a collab release between Porsche and Puma, the 911 Turbo Celebration. Now, if you must have the latest and greatest in collabs, you go to Porsche Design, go to the Hypebeast website, and you can see all the different variants.
12 different.
12 different variants of Porsche / Puma
Don't you own
shoes.
one of them?
I do. But here's the PCA insider tip. Now,
You went to an outlet.
yeah, exactly.
But he wants to be 3 inches taller.
I'm very frugal. And so I don't necessarily need to have or be the first on the block to have a pair, but I do have the need to have
You
a
just
pair.
told us about this watch you bought during the cruise.
And that too. I was not the first on the block to have it. I was willing to. I waited like
You're
2
the first on
and
a cruise ship to have it.
Oh.
Knocked
Okay.
out a couple of people.
Why are
to
you
get to
calling
the
me
store.
out? Why you call? But I did wait a few years before finding that one. But the insider tip for those of you that are listening that are also into shoes and you want a Porsche shoe, believe it or not, some of these don't always sell out. And I always check the Puma stores when I take my kids like back to school shopping or summer shopping at the outlets, the Puma outlets, especially in Delaware, because there's no taxes there, no sales taxes there. Like you can find, and I bought, this was even better for me because it was not only a Porsche Celebration 911 Turbo dark blue pair of sneakers.
Those things look good.
They were also, because it's the turbo, it's 1974, which is my birth year. So I got blue 1974 Turbo Celebration shoes for, I think $59.
Yeah, it's
right.
often-
So almost half price. So that's a little insider tip. They're not always there, but if you're at an outlet and you see Puma, swing by because more often than not they'll
You
have.
can also buy them online for 50% off.
No, you
Oh,
can't.
nice.
Yeah, I was looking at them
You
yesterday.
can. Hush.
I might have cleared out the website because I have wide feet, so they claimed they had wide sizes, but then as I started reading the reviews, everyone was saying they're not as wide as you would think.
Yes, Puma shoes typically run kind of narrow.
Yeah.
12 different designs. Looks like it's the same shoe model, and 911 of each design.
Yeah.
So they are limited too.
So we have we've spoken more about the shoes than the 50th anniversary 911 Turbo they released. That's how much excitement there was about that car.
Wow, Manny.
Just pointing out the obvious.
No, I just happen to love
See,
shoes.
David has the shoe website up. He didn't bring the 50th anniversary car up.
I was hoping one of the colorways was the 50th anniversary interior.
So
that's the best part of the
to
car.
make sure that we put
In my
enough
opinion.
time, David, would you care to comment on the release or the debut of the 911 Turbo 50th anniversary at Monterey?
You know, I think it was a missed opportunity for Porsche to make more money off of the manual transmission that they developed for the Turbo and the Sport Classic.
It's a good
That,
point.
that car should
that
have
would
been
have
manual.
been cool.
It should have been a manual
You're
with
right.
those
Yeah.
seats, and it would be an instant classic that collectors would be just hammering themselves over because the 19 Spider VIP thing's gone.
Oh yeah, that's long
That's
gone.
gone.
Long
So
gone.
like, who would get these then? Like, people would be fighting in the streets for this car if it was a manual turbo
That
with plaid seats.
very good
I think
point.
missed opportunity there.
Cool.
50th anniversary, like that's the time to. That's it.
Yeah,
And make it a 4-speed.
And I think we talked about this on the last podcast. Like there was so much going on at this year's Monterey with Porsche Classic and Porsche Exclusive. It was kind of overshadowed, and also the big Macan E push, so to speak. Yeah, it kind of got overshadowed. Awesome car. I'm sure they'll sell every single one of them. That's not going to be a problem. But it just wasn't as much hype around it.
Yeah.
Now, even the Macan E was not really.
as much. Yeah.
Only reason people saw it was on their way to get free stuff. They had to go walk around the Macan E to get the free stuff on the shelves.
But that was the new color too, the purple. We hadn't seen that one yet because we had a white
color.
one.
Yeah,
the
we had that in
color's
the East. We had that at the New York Auto Show.
cool. Okay.
Good looking car.
Oh. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, one question. You kind of hinted at it, but I want to make sure we cover it. Is anything that you are sort of predicting and are hoping to see March 2025 at Amelia?
I mean, like I said, I think it's all going to be predicated on interest rates, elections being finally over. Like, we'll see what happens. It's probably just going to be more of the same,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Nothing's
is,
going to go through the roof. Nothing's going to crash the ground. Certain models will be trickling up still. Others will be trickling down.
I remember they used to say Amelia is where you went to sell Porsches. Does that still ring true, or do you think that's been spread out now?
I think it's spread out now.
Spread out, so it's
Oh, yeah.
not necessarily you have to wait for Amelia to sell your Porsche. It's
Yeah, I think it's spread out, especially given the rise of all these online platforms. It doesn't matter.
plus
For
it'll
the
be
U.S., the
interesting
place to sell your Porsche.
to watch. This year we had the competition. Armed Sotheby's had that event in Miami. the
Doing
same
that again.
weekend, yeah.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting to see if that grows or what happens with that versus Amelia Island.
Yeah, and still the fact that most people don't talk about is how much cars change hands privately that we won't even ever see, right? Especially the big dollar cars.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Let's see. PCA events coming up that you need to make sure to register for. That is Unstock. Happens November 17th. We're looking forward to that in Corona, California. Registration opens September 4th. I want to make sure and remind you, if you haven't signed up for the PCA newsletters, just head over to pca.org and you can sign up for the newsletter. It's free. You can sign up for Mart Fresh, Performance News, and Test Drive. All right, you want to talk a little bit about videos, Damon?
Yep, watch the RS collection video. We had a PCA member in Arizona who was kind enough to open up his collection to us to film a selection of... It was hard to pick the most significant cars in that collection, but
That
we
was
tried.
one person's collection.
That
One
was
person.
One person.
One
man.
person.
Yeah, and his buddy's hanger.
And he's a nicest guy you'd ever want to meet.
That
Very
was a
nice.
good video.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't watched that,
And
watch
it's
that.
and those were
Yep.
all the cars that we could put into the hangar that day. I mean, there were still a couple cars that weren't accounted for. It was like
Amazing.
your eyeballs could not look in the same direction because there was just cars everywhere that were just breathtaking.
And with Prescott Kelly, author and collector himself, as the host for the video, along with a few words from the owner of the collection, I learned some things about all of those cars and just Porsche 911s and RSs and Rufs in general. So it's a good watch, if you want to learn more, or if you're new to the marque or don't know about the coolest Porsches that Porsche's ever made, go watch it.
So here's a funny thing that happened. A family friend just recently became a sales associate at a Porsche dealership in Atlanta. And he called me. He's like, "Hey, Vu, I know you've been around PCA and Porsches for a long time." He's like, "I know cars, but I don't know Porsches the way like I want to. Like, where do I go to learn?" And I'm like, "Boy, that's a big like no one's ever asked me that before. Like, where do I go to learn about everything Porsche?" And I'm like, "Bobby, you do realize I've been in this for like 20 some years, and I've also loved Porsches since I was little." I was like, you gotta figure out what chunks you want to learn, and I said, obviously, there's lots of resources on our YouTube channel that you can watch. Which is why you should subscribe. But Manny, what would you tell someone that says, "I want to learn all things Porsche and be able to converse"?
That's a perfect segue to hopefully we'll have him on soon. Jay Gelati just came out with a book about Porsche, and he said in his forward, and he told me at Works Reunion that he made the book for PCA members, especially those who are just joining the club, but just getting into Porsche. Because I get that question too a lot on the phone. Somebody says, "What book do you recommend if I want to learn about Porsche?" And you're like, "Wow." I usually recommend Carl Lufason's 4-tome set of Excellence is Expected, but that's probably like 3,000 pages, maybe 2,000 pages.
That's probably a couple months worth of reading.
Very
I've read
intense
it.
Most
reading.
people do not have
Yeah,
the
so they're,
attention.
Read it.
But
There's
if you
Porsche
want to know
Decades.
It's called Porsche Decades. Jay's a Pacific Northwest member, and I started looking through it, and it's a great read if you want to learn. Even if you know Porsche, you'll probably learn something that you didn't know. But it's a fairly easy read, lots of pictures, but good info that will kind of give you a quick immersion into.
And that's why I brought it up, because you were talking about how you learned something.
Yeah.
I still learn something all the time hanging around. Most of our friends and family probably consider us the car experts, or especially the Porsche experts. But there's people that we hang around with now in the club that we're just toddlers compared to the like Prescott Kelly. Like, he rattles stuff off in 10 minutes that just overshadows all my car knowledge, not just Porsche knowledge. I'm just like, how does this man know this stuff? And again, I think it's like you've got to decide, especially if you're new, to learn the basics, as Manny said, with some of these resources. But then you got to focus on, okay, are you trying to learn more about air-cooled or 911s or 356s? Because there's really no one resource to learn everything.
So I will say that you should buy those books, and if you want to know 100%, at least what I found, 100% accurate, which is tough to come by, information about everything Porsche, excellence was expected. Yes, that's the one. But if you don't have 3 months to read those 4 books, I would recommend going to our YouTube channel and searching for the playlist with our model guides, many of which are with Nathan Mers, who is also a Porsche expert on the older cars and early water cools. And we went to a Porsche dealership to do a model guide on Mecum. So we have a lot of good stuff on our YouTube channel for a lot of the, I guess, air-cooled models that were very popular back in the day. And we have more model guides coming out.
Yeah,
and
it's consumable nuggets on our channel.
Yeah, and also another plug is PCA.org, and we'll pull these up and show a screenshot on the YouTube video and with a link. But we also do have model guides for most Porsches. We're a little bit behind on the water cooled. I believe 997 is not done yet, but for all the pre-2010 cars all the way back, we had our tech experts in the club write model guides for each of the models they cover. So there's a lot of good information on PCA's own resources, probably better than almost anywhere.
Yeah, speaking of resources, I'll jump and you can get back to the second one. But the third video that you have listed here really is something that we're building up to be a resource for our members.
Yes. Yeah, we've done a few videos with Jake Raby and Charles Navarro because they are experts at their subject matter and back it up with what they do with testing and numbers. And we did a video of a 996 engine walk around. So we took the engine out of Vu's 911 Carrera 1999 model. And this first video is just, we're picking out the engine out of the car, showing you where is the air oil separator. What really happens if your oil filler neck breaks, and it's not an oil leak, it's an air leak. There's a lot of little insider tidbits that, again, I was learning as I was editing the video and filming it. But it's an hour long, a little over an hour. But if you're going to buy a 996, 997, because a lot of this stuff applies, not everything's the same, or 986 Boxster, 987 Boxster it came in, you almost have to watch this video to get a really good idea of what you need to do so you don't spend more money after letting things break. Preventative maintenance items, basically. Things you should replace before the break.
Not necessarily a DIY video. It's I looked at it more as a when your mechanic tells you we should replace this, this, and this, he's not trying to rip you off.
Yeah.
He's trying to, like Damon said, to save you money. Because everything's there already in front of you. And there's a lot of while you are in there. If you got to have a car of high mileage or an older car, of stuff that, what's the title going to be like?
Fixing things that haven't broken
yet. Exactly.
What to fix.
Exactly. Yeah. Because the engine's out, and it's so much easier to replace this stuff in less time than if you put it back in and then something breaks, like your alternator, God help us, or starter.
Yeah.
We didn't replace those two things, but oh my God.
Yeah. These are things you need to be thinking about even if you're not planning to have the engine out, because it's going to happen to all of these cars at some point, just from wear and mileage.
And here's what we try to do as a club. we want to set, especially people that are so excited, they finally saved up enough money for their dream car, and we want to set their expectations properly, because if some people come into it and they say, oh, let's say a 996, you know, oh, I'm going to save up to 30 grand because I see I can get a 996 now, and they save that $30,000 and they go and buy a 996. Now, hopefully they bought a good one, but if they're going to call me and ask, I'm going to say, okay, you've got $30,000, make sure you have at least $7,500 on top of that 30 to reset your car. And what are you talking about? Here, and this video will walk you through all these things. These are all consumable items on an engine. It's not talking about whether or not the engine's reliable or not, but you have to think back. It's a 20-some-year-old car. They're talking about plastic, rubber, metal pieces, chains, all these things that if you go in blind and think you're going to spend $30,000 and it's going to continue to drive like a Corolla where you just put, you know, oil and gas in it, like, and then all of a sudden something breaks, then you're going to say, oh, Porsches are terrible. I bought a $30,000 car and I need to spend $7,500 later and it's just nickel and diming me. And like, that's what I want to avoid from happening, because I say, if I can set that expectation first, and then they can get it right then and just spend that $7,500 right after you buy the car. And then for the next 5 years, you can enjoy it without feeling like your car is nickeling and diming. Because we've literally had a car in here, in our showroom here, where the person bought the 996, had to spend that $7,500 later, didn't realize that he had to. And he was so scared after he put the $7,500 into it, it was for sale. It came here and it was for sale. And I'm like, you just got the car ready to enjoy for the next 10 years.
Got it ready for somebody else to enjoy.
You
the
got
next 10 years.
And that's exactly what he did. I felt so bad for him, but there was no talking him out of it, because he's like, I didn't expect this. I just need to be out of it, right? So
one of the great things about this video, we're not just talking about areas of preventative maintenance, you know, or things that commonly break or break more commonly than other things on the car. It also goes into failure modes, so symptoms, what you should be listening to. If you see something, you'll be better at being able to more quickly diagnose what might be going wrong with your car. And that's important. You know, you don't want to keep driving. You hear a noise, you don't want to think, I don't know what that is, and keep driving. And which
turn the radio
I've done
up
before. So, turn the radio up. But it'll be a very good one. So look for that. Then we have
four-parter.
It's a four-parter. We have 3 other videos. So we'll release this next one. You'll probably be able to watch it now as you're listening to this podcast. And then we'll have another one later in the week of very brief removing the engine spot, but mostly about removing the parts from the engine.
All 996?
All 996.
All 996.
Yeah.
4 parts of 4 hours
parts.
of stuff breaking
Pretty much
996s.
each video is probably going to be like an hour. So
I've broken everything you can break on 996. So it's definitely 4 hours of content.
Yes.
I put 150,000 miles on mine. I've gone through it.
This exactly.
Yep.
If you hadn't, this will be the video for you.
Yes.
But yeah, 4-parter. So removing the parts from the engine, reinstalling them, and then reinstalling the engine.
Yeah, some tips, some tricks, tools you'll need, things to be aware of. And again, I learned so much through this process.
And people new to the hobby don't realize that Boxers, Caymans, 911s were designed for the engine to be dropped out for service. It's not open heart surgery on these cars. It's 4 bolts essentially, and then a lot of wires and tubes to get out of the way.
I should say this was open heart. We haven't mentioned why we dropped the engine in this episode, but it was to replace the IMS bearing, actually, with a better unit.
I mean, that to me, that wasn't the primary. It was the chain ramps, to be honest with you. The chain ramps was the one that I knew, just because our friend Gregory, you know, his chain ramps went a few years ago, and I knew I was kind of like on borrowed time, and I already had an upgraded LN bearing that I did back in 2007, I think, and so I'm like, if I'm going to take it out, I'm going to go for eliminate the bearing altogether and do, you know, the IMS solution.
Bearing, oil fit.
And the ramps were the biggest thing. The ramps was the reason why I did all that. And if you're going to do all that, then again, when you watch a video, you'll see all the other things that you're able to get to because the motor's out. It's almost silly that you don't do it.
And the car was running fine.
My car was running fine. I
wouldn't know the ramps
Yeah.
unless you plugged in the Metric and you saw the data that said
The cam timing.
Yeah, you're almost done with your ramps. But as far as running, there was no
Yeah.
It
No
ran
telltale
perfectly. So
sign, nothing.
that's what's tough because people will say, "Well, this car's running fine. My mechanic says I got to spend $2,500, $3,000 on
Actually,
this."
his car was making more power, most likely,
Yeah,
because of the change in cam timing.
All right already.
Anyway, so go watch that. We went as far as replacing the IMS bearing, so a very in-depth video. And of course, if you haven't watched our walk around of Works Reunion in Monterey, go check that out. It was sort of a preview of what you can see in Monterey next year, and also Amelia is very similar in how many cars and the types of Porsches that show up.
Yeah, some really special cars. Got to have Edith on site, which was a real treat for everyone. And, we try to cover as many cars. We try to have a selection that, doesn't leave anybody out, but it's almost impossible. You always leave someone out because there's so many combinations and or models out there. But it's pretty funny because we did make an effort to make sure we covered a transaxle car and of course a 914, and it was noticed.
It was
by
noticed.
viewers.
we got to add 996. So see, we get attacked for not having love for
We
these
did.
cars every time. PCA hates 996s. PCA hates Boxsters.
We're about to drop a 4-part series. I think we like 996s, okay? All right, let's see here. I do want to give a plug for PCA Sim Racing. If you're looking to race with other PCA members and, you can't afford to do, we're talking about racing early and what it takes to drive a classic car and or a newer car at the track, and you might want to try your hand at some competitive racing without.
They don't have IMS bearings, and they don't lose value.
And if you wreck, there's this reset button that you just don't have in real life. So PCASimRacing.com. If you don't have your gear yet, they'll also figure they can show you how to figure out the setups and recommended setups and all that. It's a great community, so make sure you check that out. If you're looking for some PCA Insider swag, check out the PCA web store. We have bottles, we have mugs and t-shirts and such. And if you're looking for a PCA Insider decal, we'll send that out to you for free. Just get us your information and email us at podcast@pca.org for your set of decals. Anything else before we sign off?
I'm good.
All good. Well, David, thank you for joining us again.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you
Pop,
for
for being a awesome audience.
Studio audience.
He didn't throw anything at us, so I think we did
And he
okay.
stayed awake, I
And he
think.
stayed awake.
Yeah,
pretty good.
I saw him smiling.
We've been told our voice puts people to sleep, so
Yeah, exactly. So, folks, thank you for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Grab your VIN, head over to PCA.org and get set up. For those of you that are looking to put a Porsche on your driveway or in your garage, we have the test drive program. Again, head over to PCA.org. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos and videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you want to send us an email, again, podcast@pca.org. Until next time, stay safe and we'll catch you down the road.